your 3 podcast guests that you would like to have on that you haven't had before. I mean, shoot for the stars here. Who's your top 3? And of course, Emac and I are up there, but you can leave us.
We
off
understand.
This
you don't
for,
have to tell us. We
exercise.
know we're 1 and 2, so you can mention other people.
There you go. Yeah, present company excluded in this, obviously. I've had 2 on the vision board, and 1 just came to me when you mentioned the dinner thing, because this one was always in my thought process for that. But podcast guest wise, Jason Sudeikis is up near the top of that. I just, everyone's loved Ted Lasso, but in general, what it sounds like his reputation is at Hollywood of being a fundamentally decent human being, of being a part of what has become a cultural phenomenon in that show. I think he'd be really interesting to talk to. T-Pain. I'm a child of the early 2000s, and watching T-Pain kind of have this career renaissance, I always point back to during the pandemic when we were all stuck inside our houses doing the quarantine situation, and they had those versus battles on Instagram. It was T-Pain and it was Lil Jon's versus battle. That was one of the nights that I have like a core quarantine memory of that was just so much fun. It brought back all these memories. And now he's got Nappy Boy Radio that he does on his Twitch stream. He's got his own podcast, and he just seems like such a bubbly, fun, wonderful person that I would love to pick his brain, because he was also part of a very interesting, auto-tune revolution in music. And then the last one for me would be Jon Stewart, who also has kind of had a career renaissance as of late. What's wrong? What's the problem with Jon Stewart? I believe is the name of the Apple Plus show and his podcast. But Jon Stewart, for me, The Daily Show during my, period of being a young person when I was in elementary and middle school, that was one of those things that had started to become appointment viewing. And for me, I always go back to 9/11. I was in the 7th grade, and I have such a vivid memory of Jon Stewart coming on. I think it was the day or so after 9/11, and the monologue that he gave from there was such a focal point in a time where, I was young. I didn't fully understand what had happened. And so while he was satire that bordered on actual news, and there's a lot of blurred lines in how that goes, he was a voice of comfort and a source of hope in a time that didn't have a whole lot of it. And so I've always been fascinated. He's been such an interesting person, the work he's done since then with, the first responders in 9/11 and trying to make sure that their safety and healthcare is secured going forward. I think he'd be a fascinating person to talk to.
What a list. Jason Sudeikis, T-Pain, Jon Stewart. I like